Hi and welcome to Whisky Shared. You're watching my review of Dingle Single Pot Still 4th release. I'm Toby and you're watching Whisky Shared. Welcome to my review of Dingle Single Pot Still 4th release. This is my 4th and final Irish Whisky Month video for 2023. This particular whisky is a triple distilled single pot still Irish whisky. It's bottled at 46.5% and it's non-chill filtered. It's made up of 75% bourbon and 25% Oloroso casks, and it's one of 8,000 bottles. It retails for $81.95 in the UK and it's from 2020. Should we find out what it tastes like? On to the whisky. So before I start nosing and tasting, let's have a quick look at the colour. I'd say that's like a deep gold. Really does have a nice hue to it. Let's start with the nose. Right, so the first thing I get with this is like hedgerow fruits and berries, slightly astringent fruit. Then I'm getting cloves. And there's a herbal note as well. I can't really work out what it is yet. It reminds me of those cough candy sweets, slightly medicinal. And there's also a hint of dry hay, reminds me of sort of sitting on hay bales in the summer. Yeah, let's move on to the palate. The first thing I get with this is like a barrel spice. There is definitely a prickliness to this as well. It's like chili pepper. There's definitely some heat there as well. It's not unpleasant, but it is noticeable. And for 46.5%, it's probably a little hotter than I'd expect. Let's have another sip. Yeah, I'm getting some soaked dark fruits. That must obviously come from the Oloroso component. There's some creamy chocolate in there as well, and yeah, it's really quite a nice creamy sort of slightly sweet, slightly bitter note. It's yeah, that's quite nice. Let's have one final sip. Yeah, I'm getting some wine gums. Reminds me of the sweets. There's also some slightly herbal, like linseed oil, and there's also some tannins that are sort of drying my cheeks a little bit. In terms of finish, I'd say it's medium. There's the cloves. There's a fruitiness. Reminds me of like figs, and there's definitely that heat, that pepper, and some new wood in there as well. In terms of value, well, as I said at the start, this is $81.95 retail in the UK, and for me, I think that's just a bit too much. And the reason is there's a slightly odd sort of herbal note that carries through on the palate, and even though there's some really interesting and nice flavours, that herbal note is slightly off-putting, and it could be my palate, it could be this batch, it could be this bottle, but there's a slightly odd note that I just don't find pleasant enough. And if you're spending that sort of money, obviously it is a shame that you can't enjoy the bottle as much as you'd hope to. I did pay a bit less than that, but it's still not a bottle I feel like I want to reach for because of that slightly unpleasant note that just doesn't work for me. Obviously it could be just my palate, and you know, that happens from time to time. certain whiskies just don't work for me, but it could be, unfortunately, the batch or the whole bottle. But this obviously won't put me off Dingle. Dingle are doing really good stuff, and I really do like their whiskey in general. It's just that this particular one doesn't work for me, and the fact that it retails for such a high price, hopefully, you know, this is just indicative of my bottle. So hopefully nobody else is picking up that unpleasant note. If you tried this particular whiskey, I'd love to hear what you thought of it in the comments, because well, as you've heard, I'm not really a fan. And if, well, for any reason you can find it, it's probably hard to find now because it's obviously a small batch and they are generally sold out everywhere. But hopefully I'll try a newer release of this and get a bottle of that instead, because obviously being a small batch release, they aren't comparable batch to batch, so it will be a new experience at the same time. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon. Stauncher. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not give it a like or a comment, and please consider subscribing for more videos like this.